Welcome to Industry Talk with your girl Sincere and, of course, Prince Solomon. And this is going to be Prince Solomon doing most of the talking here because I find his thought process and also what he's been reading on this to be fascinating, and also how people react when it comes to abuse in children in any form of media, whether it's animation, the music industry, film, or even in politics. So, Prince, please talk to us about what happened with what's taking place here when it comes to drawing the line.
Yeah, so it was an interesting article, and it was on BuzzFeed. It is on BuzzFeed News right now, actually. And it was actually written by Arian Lang. It's detailing the narrative of Robin Bird and Katie Rice, both who at one point or another in time have come in contact with the creator of Ren and Stimpy, John Kricfalusi, otherwise known as John K. Short. So starting off with Robin Bird, what has happened here is that, she was an aspiring animator, and she was someone, like many people or many children at that time, 13, 14, and she was interested in becoming an animator, getting into the industry, knowing the ins and outs of storyboarding, just all of it. And of course, like many children at that time, they looked up to the individual known as John K., creator of Ren and Stimpy. So she submitted a tape and she was detailing all of her aspirations, and John K. actually responded to her. Now, keep in mind that during the time when she submitted the tape, she was 13, and John K. himself was 37 years old. So as they began to develop some sort of a relationship in the guise of mentor and mentee, John K. began to send her, art supplies, words of encouragement, saying that she's special here and there. Eventually, the parents allowed for John K. to take Robin Bird under his tutelage. Then, that's where some of the questionable things start coming into play, and she becomes very descriptive in her narrative, in her detail, in this BuzzFeed article, again written by Arian Lang. What's wild about it, though, is that when I read it in detail, it's just about how graphic and disgusting everything is, and that dealing with John K., which, as it has been stated in the article, it was known in the industry that he had this air and this affinity towards girls who were 13, 14, 15, and 16. But what's fascinating about it is that, this had been going on for some time, and that it was a known secret, an open secret in the industry. And even when Robin Bird comes to stay with John K. and kind of gets special treatment over many of the other people, people kind of just they were just cool with it. Some folks were just talking about it. They say, hey, man, it's kind of strange, don't you think? But I'm not going to say anything because it's John K. He has a lot of power in the industry. And again, it's about, men having power and being able to move things around. So once the article was posted by a friend of mine, I'm not going to say the name, but I had a chance to go through the comment section. And a lot of the people that follow her, they're animators, they're artists, illustrators. And Ren and Stimpy, for a lot of people, I know for me growing up, it was a staple in your childhood. The humor was crude, the art was just absurd, everything was just extreme, right? It just looked like somebody that was on acid that did the animation, but it was funny though. But it also made you wonder at times though, is the humor too crude, right? And so sometimes, even for me, whether I watch a new animated feature that comes out, or if I'm watching a new show or whatever the case is, and I see something that touches on sexually suggestive, crude humor, and it's geared towards a childlike audience or children, in general, in the back of my head, I always try to see, where is that creator coming from with that energy? And we saw that routinely with Ren and Stimpy. Ren and Stimpy had a lot of sexually crude humor, and one of the characters that the name escaped me at this time was she had large legs, and they actually touch it on here in the article, large legs and big breasts, right? And Howard Stern had an interview where he brought it up to John K's attention, and John K, he smiled and he said, and she's underage too. Now, at that time, a lot of people was thinking like, oh, you know, to the fans, it was like, oh, John K, he's just, you know, this guy just unfiltered. But now you see when, you know, Robin Bird and Katie Rice are giving, you know, their thoughts and their experiences with John K, where all that energy and that type of humor that he had, even through the Ren and Stimpy cartoons, where was that coming from?
May I interject too?
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't one say that Howard Stern himself is questionable because he had a lot of guests that he joked with about underage girls, lack of puberty, hitting puberty, also the lack of pubic hair. He has done and some questionable things himself, and wouldn't that be considered advocacy to allow that constant theme to be on his show a lot of times about underage women?
Yes.
Oh, I shouldn't say women. I'm sorry.
Girls. There you go. That's more appropriate.
Underage girls.
Yeah, you know, all of it. The whole industry is complicit. It's like, for me, watching the show, even using Ren and Stimpy as, you know, art style reference points, even dealing with the humor, like, I had no idea that what was going on with him was that deep. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of, once I found out, it's like, that's it for me. Like, I don't want to see the cartoon. I don't want to see his face. In fact, Nickelodeon, after this article